towards the end of our stay at the university, the war started. 1978, Amin attacks Kagera in Tanzania, and the Tanzanian government decides to fight back. And that's what started the war of 1970, end 78 on to 79. That was a very difficult moment for us, because on the one hand, we were very eager that Amin goes.
On the other hand?
I, for one, I had had personal traumas from the government, and all of us at Makerere actually, because in 1976, army men killed one of the students of University Hall. I was in Mitchell Hall, neighboring University Hall, and one of the students who had been finishing his law student called Seruanga was gunned down in the evening after Leavers Ball, and we decided to demonstrate. And we put on our gowns and walked through Kampala to Kibuli, where the father of Seruanga lived. And on coming back, we were attacked along the way by these military people and scattered us. And the terror on campus began. At that time, one of Amin's sons, who is now in government, is one of the advisors of Museveni. He had come to Makerere and was staying in our hall, in Mitchell Hall. He had taken up a resident tutor's flat where we heard he was studying English. And following that demonstration, halls of residence were attacked, we understand, by his arrangement, and many students were injured, many girls were raped, and things like that. So, everybody at campus, except those who were in intelligence, of course,
The bosses.
were anxious that the Amin regime ends. But at the same time, when the war started, it became very dangerous for everybody, because now the soldiers were like, injured buffaloes. We were very supportive of the Tanzanian attack, but very careful not to be identified that you are happy about what is going on, and not sure how it would even end. So there was a lot of anxiety, but nonetheless we were hopeful that the war would remove Amin, and indeed eventually Amin did not prove to be as strong as he had been claiming. His soldiers started folding, very quickly running away from the bombing of the Tanzanians. There were a bomb which was called Saba Saba, which we were, mesmerized about. We had no idea what this monster was.
Meters and meters.
Yes, it would be whizzing, ooh, boom, and the Amin soldiers were scampering like hell. And the most frightening period, of course, was the entry into Kampala, where we were. There was immense shelling on the night of 10th of April. 1979. And very early in the morning, around 5, it started raining, and it rained very heavily. And there were warnings on the radio that everybody, there had been a radio which was broadcasting from Tanzania, telling us what was happening in the war and advising people what to do. And it had warned that people should leave the city because now the city was going to be attacked and taken over. So on that morning of 11th, we all had to leave. Very few people were able to remain. And I spent a night in Mukono. And the following morning, the news came that Kampala had fallen. So we came back to the city. To very, remarkable kind of situation, because then there was looting. That went on, I think, for about 2 days, and eventually it settled down. The insecurity never quite settled down. Shootings of people and so on continued. But a new government was sworn in, and it started doing some work. There was, of course, instability in the government. The ruling government was removed only after 2 months, in fact 68 days. And when it was removed, there were again huge demonstrations. In fact, there was a huge demonstration of people who were saying Twagala Lule, and that was the chant, Twagala Lule, Oba Tufa Tufe, Twagala Lule. And the whole town was Twagala Lule until the soldiers fired amongst them and, dispersed them violently. And again, that started showing that maybe this liberation is not quite the liberation we thought. The way the demonstrators were aggressed and dispersed. And it was at that stage that we graduated. Now, when we were graduating, there was a debate in the UNLF that time. Binaisa was still the president, and Binaisa had coined this idea of an umbrella. The UNLF itself was called an umbrella organization, where many organizations had united. So Binaisa became the champion of the umbrella, saying we must continue with the umbrella. We must continue under this unity. We should not go back to our different political parties, but continue as under the umbrella. And that's what he championed, and he hoped to continue leading the umbrella organization. But UPC and DP within the umbrella were not agreeing. They wanted to compete in elections as political parties, and they wanted the umbrella over. And so there was struggling, people who wanted the umbrella, people who did not want the umbrella. And I must say that for us as young people at that stage, we were not very excited about the old political parties, because we thought that their activities had been responsible for the degeneration that we had gone through. The way the politics had been managed, we thought had been responsible for what we had gone through, and we were not excited to go back to that situation. But still, this umbrella was not clear what the umbrella was all about, where it was going, how it would work. So we are confused. Besigye, in trying to acquire more influence and power, sacked some of the influential leaders who were under the umbrella. He removed Oito Jok, who was chief of staff of the military then, and made him ambassador. He removed Paulo Muanga, who was minister, I think, of interior, and made him minister of labor. He removed Museveni, who had been in defense, and made him minister, I think, of cooperatives or something. And I think all these people became unhappy with the way Besigye was proceeding and overthrew him. And now declared that the power of the UNLF was under the military commission. The military commission was only one part of the UNLF. So there was a military coup, as it were, against the UNLF itself. And Museveni was the vice chairman, Muanga was the chairman of the military commission. And once they did that, then they agreed that they will go back to parties and have elections in 1980 under parties. And that is where I started really developing interest in what was going on.
Shortly after graduation, he managed to secure himself a job at the Nairobi Aga Khan Hospital. However, prior to this, he recollects how the country was in insurgency following the forceful transition of regimes. This then clearly awoke his suppressed desire to fight for freedom. You can be sure to join us next week as we continue for yet another thrilling story of the doctor.
Hey, Masagarao, you people.